Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Back-to-back murders rock Mobe. Detectives attached to the Freeport and Barnett Street police stations in Montego Bay, St. James, have launched probes into Friday morning's back-to-back daylight murders of two men in separate incidents in the second city. The victims have been identified as Honey Stevens, otherwise called Midnight, a juice vendor from Petersfield in Westmoreland, and 35-year-old Champy Reed, a businessman of Ironshore address in St. James. Reports are that about 8 a.m., Stevens was inside the Montego Bay Transport Center selling juice when he was approached by a man with whom he had an altercation. The man reportedly brandished a handgun and opened fire, hitting Stevens multiple times before fleeing on foot. While processing that scene, detectives were alerted to another shooting outside the Jamaica National Bank in Catherine Hall, where Reed was attacked. According to police reports, the businessman was seated inside his car outside the bank when a group of men drove onto the compound. The men alighted and opened gunfire at Reed's car, chasing him as he ran from the vehicle. Reed died on the spot. His license firearm, which he had with him, was not stolen. I just alighted from a taxi and was walking towards the bank to do some business when I heard the gunshots and see two men chasing the man who is now dead, an elderly eyewitness reported. I am a returning resident, and it comes as a shock to me to see people just taking other people's lives like this, she continued. I had to run back towards the roadway, and I nearly got hit by a car, but all I want to know is that I didn't get caught in that kind of thing. Up to late yesterday, police were yet to make a breakthrough in their case. We have seen an increase in murders since the start of February, and so far, the police have not come up with motive for these two murders, an investigator reported. The officer said over the past 18 days, at least 9 persons have been murdered in the parish of St. James, bringing total to 39 since the start of the year. Relatives of slain Trelawney farmer want life for killers. Melrose Garden, the common-law wife of murdered Trelawney farmer Winston Stewart, is hoping that the men held for his death will get the maximum sentence of life imprisonment if found guilty. The family was still mourning when reporters made contact on Thursday, but were overjoyed that all 3 suspects were now in custody. Life imprisonment, and that me want them forget, life imprisonment, Garden said bluntly. She said that since her husband's death last month, she has gotten more ill, but news that the suspects have been charged made her feel much better. Them as somebody who grew up in the same community here, all 3 of them, and my family is coping real hard because Mana was me hand and foot, she stated of Stewart. Her common-law husband's death has been a major setback for herself and the family as they depended on him for many things, especially financial support. A cousin of the slain farmer, who was also a family home in the small farm community of McHill in Clarkston on Thursday morning, was also stated that the men have been charged. Me say me feel good, thank God, and thank this incident, she shouted. I hope them get life imprisonment and come back out. Tanisa Gallimore, a former student of Cedric Titus High School who related that she now has a baby while still trying to get an education, stated that Stewart assisted her in many ways during difficult times. Man, I don't deserve what happened to him. Every time me I go to school, even when my mother can't afford things, me could always go to Mana and say, Mana, me no have no lunch money. Mana, me no have this or that. He always did it for me, Gallimore stated. The burnt remains of 63-year-old farmer was discovered on a farm at Walker's Peace, Trelawney on January 31st. Reports by the Clarkston police are that Stewart, who resides at a section of the community known as McHill, left home sometime after midday on Sunday, January 30th, and set out for his farm in a section of McHill called Walker's Peace. When he did not return home that afternoon, his relatives grew concerned and made a report to the Clarkston police. A search team stumbled upon Stewart's burned remains at a woodland farm owned by 2 brothers the following day. Following an investigation, one of the accused, 27-year-old Remar Brown, a farmer of Cockburn Pen in Clarkston, was arrested and charged on Tuesday, February 9, with accessory after the fact of murder and conspiracy to prevent the unlawful burial of a corpse. His 2 co-accused, 46-year-old Andrew Denty Green, and his elder brother, 49-year-old Alan Corey Green, were both charged on February 11 with murder and conspiracy to prevent the lawful burial of a corpse. The police say their investigations revealed that on Sunday, January 30, Brown went to his farm and discovered both men with a large knitted bag in which had allegedly placed Stewart's remains after they had allegedly chopped him up. The police further stated that Brown made a confession in a statement sent to the director of the public prosecutions that he saw the brothers with the bag containing Stewart's remains and assisted them in transporting it to a section of the farm where it was burned. All three men are to face the Trelawney Parish Court at a later date. Attorneys poll to pay $5,000 DRMA fine for a sick old woman. Three attorneys at law on Tuesday pulled together inside the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court to pay a $5,000 fine for a 69-year-old woman charged for breaching the Disaster Risk Management Act (DRMA). Beverly Isaacs, a street sweeper of Denham Town address in the corporate era, pleaded guilty to breaches of the DRMA and the offense indecent exposure. The feeble-looking woman was admonished and discharged of the indecent exposure charge by Senior Parish Judge Lori Ann Cole Montague, and the court offered no case against her for disorderly conduct. So thrilled was Isaacs that she was allowed to sit in the prisoner's dock when the allegations against her were being disclosed and discussed. The court heard that on the day in question, Isaacs stripped off her clothes while being detained, a charge that sickly woman and the attorney acting on her behalf, Vincent Wesley, vehemently denied. Leslie told the court that Isaacs routinely works with policemen who knew her well, and he was surprised that a cop would mount a charge on the sickly woman, especially under conflicting circumstances. Wellesley, who said he acted as a servant of the court, argued that two of the charges be dropped, leaving only the DRMA offense, as his client could not survive jail time as she could collapse at any minute. She is faced with every manner of sickness that the devil has bestowed on humans, Wellesley told the court. The court upheld the submission on the basis that Isaac enters a plea deal in relation to the DRMA and indecent exposure charge. After consultation with her attorney, she was asked to enter a plea while the court clerk detailed the offenses. Not guilty, Your Honor. Why would I expose myself? I am a big woman, as Shaky Isaac said before she was encouraged by Wesley to plead guilty on both counts. Senior Parish Judge Cole Montague told Isaacs that Wellesley argued well on her behalf and that she was mindful of her fine of only $5,000. But even as that amount was too much, and the street sweeper said she was out of cash and began to weep, Wellesley then dipped into his pocket and later got assistance from two other counsel who offered up $1,000 to cover the fine. Cole Montague applauded the attorney's act of generosity and tried others who in other instances have been reluctant to assist. Miss Isaacs, you are admonished and discharged, and in your condition, take good care of yourself, Cole Montague said. Isaacs collapsed on her way out of the courthouse and was assisted by court staff and others awaiting their own judgment. She was lifted by a policeman and placed on a bench in the court hall, and rubbing alcohol was administered. She was revived a moment later and assisted home. People's National Party (PNP) local government spokesperson Denise Daly drew on the outcome of Isaac's case to condemn what she deemed as inequitable enforcement of the DRMA, calling on the government to conduct and review to ensure that the law is being fairly enforced. Let us, while upholding the laws of the land, ensure that all protected and treated equally, Daly said in a statement, adding that the PNP was harboring concerns about how the DRMA was being enforced, in light of the Director of Public Prosecution's position that no charges were to be laid against Floyd Green and Company for the party held at our hotel on a no-movement day. The selective enforcement of the DRMA has become even more apparent, she charged. Prime Minister Wholeness' wife received AstraZeneca booster shots. Prime Minister Andrew Wholeness and his wife Juliet on Saturday received their AstraZeneca COVID-19 booster shots at the St. Joseph Hospital in St. Andrew. The announcement was made by the Prime Minister on his social media platform. After taking the vaccine, it is still important to wear your mask, maintain physical distance, and wash your hands with soap and water frequently, stated Wholeness, while sharing photographs of himself and wife with their blue booster vaccination cards. Over 23% of Jamaicans are now fully vaccinated, as the island's vaccination program continues to lag behind other Caribbean countries. Wholeness used his social media platform to encourage citizens to get vaccinated or take their booster doses. The COVID-19 vaccines are proven to be safe and effective. It prevents severe illness, hospitalization, and death. As more vaccines become available, we encourage Jamaicans to make arrangements to get vaccinated, he said. The Ministry of Health and Wellness began administering booster doses of COVID-19 vaccines in December last year. On February 7, the ministry announced that the administering of booster doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, as well as the mixing of other vaccine brands for the first and second doses. Security Ministry working to strengthen prison rehabilitation program. The Ministry of National Security is working to strengthen the prison rehabilitation program in order to reduce the number of reoffenders and equip inmates with the skills to re-enter society. Minister of State in the ministry, Xavier Main, said Jamaica has a recidivism rate of 40%. Recidivism is the rate at which individuals who are imprisoned or otherwise punished for offenses committed repeat those or other crimes. We want to ensure that when persons come within the correctional facilities, they are so rehabilitated that when they exit the facilities, we want to put them in a position where they do not go on to further a life of criminality, but that they can be fit into society as productive members, Main said. He explained that as it now stands, all or most of the programs in the Department of Correctional Services DCS are voluntary and inmates are not mandated to participate. The programs by and large are voluntary when it comes onto inmates adult prisoners. For the wards, meaning juveniles, we have a number of programs that are not voluntary. We have to make sure that without means, be it encouragement, persuasion, or counseling, that we increase the level of participation, the state minister said. Main also expressed interest in ensuring that the engagement between the inmates and the DCS is empowering them to be better persons. We want to make sure that persons are not just taking on whatever activity because they are seeking to keep themselves engaged. We want them to see it as an introduction to a new way of life, something that will give them hope, so that once they no longer here, there is something that they will chart a new course for their life, he stated. In the meantime, Main informed that there are inmates who are enrolled in territorial programs, noting that this is an indication that rehabilitation is possible and important. There are second chance programs that persons who may have done subjects before and were not successful have the opportunity to redo subjects. Persons may also do subjects for the first time and have been advised that there are even persons within the facility who are now enrolled in tertiary institutions. So that again is something that we would want to examine and see how best we can improve on that, he stated. Main added that since his appointment to the Ministry of National Security, he has had discussions become introducing new programs at the DCS. We may want to introduce additional programs offered. We really want to offer some strength to the programs that we know and add value, and that programs we know should work, he stated. Road crashes claim 56 lives in 49 days, says the RSU. 56 people were killed in 50 fatal crashes up to Friday, February 18, the Road Safety Unit RSU is reporting. This represents a 7% decrease in fatalities and a 9% decrease in fatal crashes when compared to a similar period in 2021. The Road Safety Unit is projecting that fatalities for 2022 will decrease by 8%. Some 484 people perished in traffic crashes last year, the worst number in almost 20 years. The latest statistics from the Road Safety Unit show that pedestrians account for 23% of road users killed as of February 18. Motorcyclists account for 21% of road users killed during the same period. Private motor vehicle drivers accounted for 25% of road fatalities to date. Private motor vehicle passengers make up 23% of all road traffic victims since the start of the year. Vulnerable road users, which includes pedestrian, pedal cyclists, motorcyclists, and pillion riders, account for 52% of the road users killed as of February 18. As in previous years, the majority of road users killed in Jamaica are males. So far, 88% of those killed on the nation's roads since January 1 are males, with 12% being females. The RSU says 13 pedestrians and 2 children are numbered among road deaths so far this year. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.